All right, today we're getting into a story that's going to make you question pretty much everything you think you know about justice. We're going to get inside the head of a man who, for more than 20 years, was both a celebrated cop and one of the most effective serial killers imaginable.
So let's just jump right in. We're talking about a highly decorated police officer who didn't just uphold the law. At some point, he decided he was the law. He built his own twisted protocol for justice, all while hiding in the shadows of the very system he was supposed to be protecting. This is a deep dive into the mind of a man who completely erased the line between protector and predator.
You've got to understand this whole story is basically a chess match between two brilliant minds. You've got the veteran cop and the young analyst. They were on opposite sides of the board, but for 2 decades, only one of them even knew a game was being played.
So on one side, you have DCP Vikram Ahuja, the old-school veteran. His entire world runs on gut feelings and this dark moral calculus, using the system's own blind spots as his perfect cover. And on the other side, you've got Inspector Arjun Mehta, the analyst. For him, the truth isn't in a gut feeling. It's in the data, in transparency, in the process. Their philosophies weren't just different, they were destined to collide.
Now, Vikram's journey didn't start with some big, noble plan. Not at all. It began with a single, impulsive act on a late-night patrol in Mumbai, an act that would change the course of his life and, well, the lives of all the people he would later choose to end.
And this first kill, it just gets swallowed up by paperwork, right? Easy to hide. But that wasn't the important part. The catalyst was his reaction to it. This chilling, quiet feeling of satisfaction. That's what opened up a crack in his soul that he would soon learn how to exploit, methodically.
And see, this is where it gets really twisted. Vikram didn't just become a killer. He became a kind of philosopher of death. He created this thing, the Echo Protocol, a warped form of poetic justice. He would follow it for the next 2 decades, turning his target's own cruelty right back on them.
His method, it was surgical, it was symbolic, and, terrifyingly, it was all hidden in plain sight. He used his badge not just as a shield, but as a weapon. He could move through crime scenes like a ghost because he was an insider who knew exactly which rules could be bent and which could be shattered. So with his protocol in place, Vikram becomes this avenging phantom inside the very system he swore to protect. And for years, he leaves this trail of what just looked like unconnected, bizarre phantom crimes all across the country.
For years, years, these were just strange, isolated, cold cases. You'd hear whispers in different precincts about a cleaner who handled problems the law couldn't. But nobody saw the connection because nobody was looking for one. That is, until someone started looking at the data in a totally new way.
And then, Inspector Arjun Mehta walks onto the scene. He wasn't your typical detective trying to hunt down a vigilante. He was more like a systems analyst, auditing the bureaucracy for mistakes. He was looking for a bug in the code, and what he found was the ghost in the machine.
Now here's the key difference. Arjun wasn't chasing hunches. He was building a database. He systematically took 2 decades of whispers and coincidences and turned them into a cold, hard, prosecutable pattern. Where everybody else just saw chaos, Arjun saw a clear statistical signal pointing to one totally impossible conclusion. So Arjun's got his ledger, right? He's connecting the dots. And he realizes the phantom who had been haunting the country for 2 decades wasn't some shadowy outsider. The data showed it was a face he knew, a decorated, high-ranking, and deeply respected police officer.
And the crazy part is, the system's own evolution is what brought Vikram down. The digitization of all those old paper files, that's what allowed Arjun to cross-reference everything, finding these faint but persistent digital breadcrumbs that Vikram, a man of the old world, thought he'd erased forever.
So, this was never going to be a simple, you're under arrest kind of thing. No way. Arjun sets this elaborate psychological trap. He creates a perfect scenario designed specifically to trigger Vikram's protocol. The goal wasn't just to catch him, it was to make the hunter finally look in the mirror.
And so the 2 men finally come face to face. But it's not some dramatic shootout. It's in a dead quiet, sterile municipal stairwell, a kind of jurisdictional blind spot Vikram had used for years. It was the perfect, clean setting for a final accounting.
When he's confronted, Vikram doesn't plead or deny anything. He rationalizes. He defends his life's work not as murder, but like a CEO talking about cost-benefit analysis. In his mind, he wasn't a killer,
He was society's risk manager. And Arjun's response isn't about moral outrage. He counters with the one thing Vikram can't argue with: the facts. The undeniable, consolidated proof of everything he'd done. He just presents the ledger, the final objective truth of Vikram's entire career.
And in that moment, faced with the cold, hard logic of his own guilt, laid bare by the very kind of system he thought he was better than, the veteran makes a choice. He chooses finality over an arraignment. He performs one last procedural act, but this time it's on himself.
The fallout was immediate, and it was huge. The institution was forced to confront the monster it had helped create, leading to massive reforms. But outside, in the public eye, the narrative just fractured. Was Vikram a hero who did what a broken system couldn't? Or was he just a monster hiding behind a badge?
And that really leaves us with the central, nagging question, doesn't it? When a system consistently fails to deliver justice, do men like Vikram become inevitable? Who gets to write that final ledger, and what's the real cost of that power?